This is an economy, this is an action economy right now. In other words, it's going to be, the agents that thrive are going to be the agents that have a higher degree of emotional intelligence and a higher degree of stamina and a higher degree of action. That's what it's going to take going forward. Let's talk about what's going on right now. Has there been significant change in the last 4 or 5 months in the real estate industry? Yes or no? I want you guys to think about it. You guys have probably seen all of these. It's generally called the 5 phases of grief. I know I experienced this at a young age. At 17 years old, I was living in LA and my father died. And so, you know, the thing about being on my own at 17 in a city like Los Angeles is that I didn't have the luxury of going through these 5 phases in a long period of time. Typically, it takes people a year to 2 years to go over substantial grief or substantial change. So that's what you're experiencing in the real estate market right now. What you're experiencing is real estate agents are frozen and many buyers are frozen, okay? And so this is, if you're experiencing any of these things, most real estate agents will get stuck on depression. Most real estate agents will get stuck on depression. Right? Especially if you've had the curse of being in real estate in the last 2 to 3 years. Why would I say that's a curse? Look, you've had an artificial sense of what it is to be a real estate agent. I was in a room with high producers a few weeks ago, and the speaker asked, how many of you have been in real estate longer, how many of you got into real estate within the last 10 years? Of course, it was about 95% of the room raised their hand. And he said it's a level playing field now, because if you got into real estate in the last 8 to 10 years, you have not embodied the skills that it takes to succeed in real estate. So when I say it's a great time to be in real estate, it's a level playing field right now. And who will get through these next 6 to 18 months are the folks who have a high degree of emotional intelligence and the folks who take massive and immediate action. That's who's going to survive. This is a slide from REDX, and it's an interesting slide. It's a little bit confusing, but what this represents is number of contacts. In other words, so the right side is number of agents. So what this represents is number of agents that make one contact. And what you'll see is that's the majority of agents. The majority of agents reach out to a client one time. As you slide down and the bottom row represents 8 contracts, only 1 to 2% of real estate agents nationwide actually make greater than 8 contacts. And on average, it takes the consumer 6 to 8 conversations, like intelligent conversations, not idiotic Instagram memes, okay, but like actual intelligent conversations. It takes most consumers 6 to 8 intelligent conversations to move the needle. In other words, for them to go, okay, you know what? In spite of my fears, in spite of my uncertainty, in spite of my concerns, I think I can trust you about moving forward. And so what you can see is the competition diminishes quickly the more action you take. Can you guys see that? Look, this is what the next few months are going to look like, okay? This representing the time going forward, right? We're on the cusp of October, and this represents quantity, okay? This is what the market is likely going to do. This is buyer activity over the next few months. Why can we be certain of this? Interest rates, if you study human psychology, which in this organization, do we study human psychology, yes or no? Right? We study psychology, we study physiology. And the reason why is so that we better understand ourselves, but we also understand human behavior. So we know that buyers are going to pause for a while. Do you remember? How many of you remember what happened during COVID? Was there a pause for a while? How long did it last? About 2 months, really, right? They started percolating some activity once people realized, like, okay, this is going to be the new norm. Yeah? It's going to be very similar to COVID, okay? What's going to happen is people are going to freeze. They're going to pause for a minute. Now, There's something that I realized when I got into real estate in 2009. I got into real estate in 2009, and there were 115 transactions that closed that month. And there were 2,200 real estate agents. Similar circumstance now, except there's 3 times the amount of closing, 4 times the amount of closings, right? So it's actually a better market now than it was in the worst recession that the United States has experienced since the Great Depression. We're actually in a better market now. And as a matter of fact, if you want to look, buyers are in a better position now than they were even a year ago. When a listing goes up on the market, is it experiencing 15, 20 offers? No. Yeah, but you say interest rates have gone to 7.5%. But if you're getting a better deal on the house than you were a year ago, is the interest rate permanent? Yes or no? So see, what's happening, guys, is a lot of people are freezing. A lot of your buyers are freezing. But if you can articulate a conversation that goes, look, better to find the house, view the rate as temporary, and the rate will come down at a certain point. When the Fed finally gets control of inflation and they start bringing those rates back down, that's a great opportunity to refinance then, okay? But remember last week, or 2 weeks ago, I talked to you guys about that there's a need for 114,000 dwellings in Spokane County. We only have 89,000. That's a 25% delta. It means we have a housing shortage to the tune of 25%. Do you think that's going to start coming back up as people realize that this is the new reality? Absolutely, right? But look at what's happening with agent count. This is an economy, this is an action economy right now. In other words, it's going to be the agents that thrive are going to be the agents that have a higher degree of emotional intelligence and a higher degree of stamina and a higher degree of action. That's what it's going to take going forward. And so look, if you're experiencing any of the stages, right? I showed the stages of change or the stages of grief. If you want to look that up and revisit that. If you're experiencing those, fantastic. Let's hope you're at depression. And the reason I say let's hope that you're at depression, which by the way, psychologists say is the most difficult stage. But if you're at the phase called depression because the market doesn't look like it did 6 months ago or a year ago, fantastic. What's the fastest way through depression? Come on, you guys that have done Tony Robbins with me, UPW, action. Action is the fastest way through depression. Action is the fastest way through depression. So if you're at that spot, great, celebrate it. Don't live there, start taking action. And you will find, like Katie has found, is that when you're focused, and you're focused on delivering value to your clients, and you're focused on looking for those clients who are ready, willing, and able to take the next step, you will find that there is activity. There are buyers, right? But if you do what your peers are doing, which is totally buy into the news and, oh, woe is me, and the industry is so different, then you're going to be one of many who ultimately end up leaving the industry. The mortgage industry is finding that right now.